But at the same time, it's kind of a motivator when you have people booing against you because you want to prove to them that you're the true thing. You know, you're modern day and you're here to win.
There's a story of one of the mothers of one of our ex-wrestlers who was visiting a son who was on assignment in Russia, and she sat on a train on the subway next to some men who were obviously wrestlers. They're cauliflower ears, and they got into a conversation about wrestling, and she said, well, my sons wrestled. We're from Indiana. And they said, modern day wrestling? Because we had been to Russia the previous year on an exchange trip, and they learned of modern day wrestling. So I thought that was just kind of interesting that you know, we were kind of internationally famous to a certain extent. But
7.
You won, and which one did you not win?
First grade.
First grade?
Yeah.
Yeah. You remember about that?
I remember I wrestled Alex Winesapple for 3rd and 4th, and he ended up beating me. And I got 4th place that year. I think Sean Heron won 1st place. And we were always competing. I remember growing up, me, Alex Winesapple, Sean Heron, Jerry Parkinson. It was kind of like we'd always be competing every year.
But wrestling's a little different. It's an individual sport, and you know, they'll figure that out when they get in it and start wrestling. It's all on their shoulders, and a lot of people like that. Some don't. It may not be for them, but it's a great sport.
My dad would never do anything that I didn't want to do. He'd always ask me, you know, if this is what I wanted and you know what I thought of it, and if I didn't like it or I didn't think it was right, then he wouldn't.
Well, now, you know, you need to stay just a little longer because tonight's grade school night, you know. And so I convinced him to hang around a couple hours longer, and he was traveling to the other end of the state, so he had a long trip ahead of him. But, you know, he hung around and saw all these little kids start coming in, running around and everything, weighing them in. And during the weigh-ins, you know, I was pointing out, said, okay, now there's Tim Boots. You know, he's coaching that school, and he's a former state champion. You know, there's Gabe Zirkelbach, you know, and his brother Barton, they're state champion, state runner-up, and, you know, just went on and on, pointing out, you know, the coaches and their ties and their, you know, the brothers and all of our ex-wrestlers that were helping out. And then, you know, took him out in the gym and let him watch, you know, the controlled chaos that is modern-day grade school wrestling. And afterwards, he was just blown away by it. And he said, you know, if anybody ever talks to me about modern-day recruiting again, he said, I'll know now to be able to tell them to just shut up about it.
I said it just took that self-determination and willpower that my dad taught me growing up to realize that this is a part of wrestling. You know, everyone's going to lose, and you may not do as well as you like, but it's how you react after that really matters.
0-5 against Blake, and I just couldn't find a way to beat him. And then come 2nd grade, we started drilling together. Actually, 1st grade, we started drilling together. And, you know, he was still growing, like, it was like a 3-2 match, and then a 3-1 match, and then 5-3, and he started tag falling me. But we started drilling together, and now we're best friends to this day, you know.
I would bet you there was some sort of Mauer-related referee involved in those matches, or you know, someone keeping the score, controversial call at the buzzer.
Yeah, I always said because his dad, you know, he's got a big dad, weightlifting dad, so he scared the referee, and referee just voted in Blake's favor. That's what happened.
And it had to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can still remember I signed my first autograph. It was to my aunt. She came up, I was in 1st grade, and I ended up winning a match or something, and she asked me for my autograph, and you know, it was a big sense of accomplishment knowing that people are wanting to recognize me. So it was definitely enjoyable.
You know, when I started coaching up to the time that I ended, you know, we ended up coaching the sons of the fathers that we had coached, and that multi-generational thing was pretty special.
Yeah, because I can think back, and I remember I was going for a national title. I was in the championship round, going for 1st and 2nd. And I think I was in 6th grade. And all of a sudden I was getting stomach cramps, and I'm guessing it was nerves thinking back to it, but I decided I didn't want to wrestle. I didn't want to wrestle for 1st and 2nd. So, of course, my dad, you know, he spent all that money and took me there, and he just coached me, and, you know, he wanted to feel proud of me, and he was. But when the final say came, you know, I didn't want to wrestle in that match, so, you know, he didn't let me. He said, okay, if you don't want to, then you don't have to. And Team Say, I can think back Coach Gable kept telling me I'm the secret weapon because no team would know I was going to be wrestling because they thought I was going to be hurt. So, and I can still remember wrestling against Cathedral. It was a big match, and I had to wrestle someone that would qualified for state. And I'm coming off from an injury and everything, and I was working hard, and my whole team was backing me, had the support. They knew I was going through, so they wanted to do everything they could in the practice room to make me better. And I remember that match, I ended up going out there and I pinned the kid. And I looked at the Monterey crowd, and they were all cheering for me, and there's not a better feeling than that. After you win, you can look up and see how many people are cheering for you, and your team's so excited.
Well, yeah, it's been said. Yeah, wrestling's been a big part of my life. Tremendous ride, lots of fun. Lots of great friendships, obviously lots of great memories. So, it's been good to me. Hopefully, it's been a good relationship for the people that have been able to coach and along the way. And some people will debate my refereeing skills, but I'll leave that up to them to make their own decision on that.
There were very few people other than the wrestlers that I hung out with. It was being part of the Marty team created such a close tie to all my friends that those were my friends.